In this third week 11 video, I'm going to give you your feedback on the source discussion questions about the Black Death. These were based on three different medieval accounts of the plague, trying to explain it. The first was by Giovanni Boccaccio, who was an Italian poet. The second, an anonymous source. And the third, a German friar called Hermann Gigas. The first question was, what different causes are suggested by the authors of these accounts? Well, Boccaccio attributes it firstly to being a punishment sent by God because of the sins of mankind, and secondly being caused by the alignment of the planets, the heavenly bodies as he calls it. The anonymous source blames earthquakes, claiming that earthquakes let out poisonous gas, which led to the plague. And thirdly, Hermann Gigas blames the Jewish population. He records that people believed the Jews were poisoning wells, and people turned on the Jewish population, killing or forcibly converting them to Christianity. The second question asked how rational were these 14th century attempts to explain the plague. I put rational in quote marks because I wanted you to think they may not seem rational to us, but were they rational to medieval people? Well, some of them were. Boccaccio, you could see it as rational to blame God. If you live in a society where Christianity is the assumed belief system of everybody, and medieval people did not separate science from religion. They believed that Christianity could explain natural phenomena, and in return, a scientific approach, a logical approach, could explain and justify the Christian faith. So Boccaccio is merely reflecting a common medieval belief that when bad things happen, it's because God is punishing you for your sins. And his belief that is caused by the alignment of planets, this has been like us today, look at our horoscopes. We today might think that's just a bit of fun, but that was also part of a medieval scientific understanding of the universe. They believed that God's creation was a single creation, heaven and earth together. And events observable in the heavens, such as the movement of planets, were signs of God's will and were reflections or possibly even warnings about events that were going to come on earth. The Gigas source about the killing of Jews, this is a difficult one. I don't want to say it's a rational response because that makes it sound as if it's okay to attack the Jewish people. Clearly, this had no basis in reality, the claim that Jews were responsible. But it does reflect a belief system that defines people by their religion. If people are non-Christian, they're seen as the enemies of Christ, and therefore it might appear rational to believe these people are out to get you, even though we today understand this is just a myth used to justify anti-Jewish violence. The anonymous one about earthquakes, this sounds very odd to us, but this is a medieval scientific belief, and it makes sense when you think it through logically, even though the conclusions may be wrong. They believed disease was caused by bad smelling poisonous gas. We know now that this is wrong, but it makes sense because things that make you sick, like being around dead bodies or rotten meat or marshland, where today we know that mosquitoes breed, but then they understood that the smell from the marsh itself was making you sick. And then you add that to the knowledge that earthquakes tend to occur in the same places as volcanoes. Volcanoes, we know, do let out poisonous gas, sulfurous gas that smells bad. It smells like rotten eggs. Put these ideas together, and the argument is earthquakes are caused by volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruptions let out poison gas. We know from the point of view of medieval people that poisonous gas causes disease, therefore earthquakes cause disease. It is not the correct interpretation, but nobody until the 19th century understood the true causes of disease. So we can't really say medieval people were stupid or irrational for trying to figure it out in their own terms. The last question asked, what do the sources reveal about 14th century society and attitudes? Well, we learned the medieval people had a strongly religious view of the world. They looked for religious explanations. When things went wrong, they looked for either God's punishment or they tried to scapegoat non-Christian peoples. But we also learned that there were people who did respond to things sensibly and rationally, even if their understandings were incorrect. They tried to look for a scientific understanding of the world. In Boccaccio's source, when you read further on, you see that the Florentines did things like deny entry to people who were sick, try to clean out the streets. These are all good, sensible precautions to take in the event of disease. Medieval people were no more superstitious or irrational than anybody else before modern science learnt the understanding of the causes of disease.